Living in a world where tomorrow's never promised. Last of a dying breed, ratifying honest. Got me feeling like an onyx. My heart was getting hard till I looked to the sky. Say I'ma leave it to God and embark on this path. Journey of a lifetime. Everybody rhyme, but not a lot I co-sign. Define the mind's capabilities, we flying. Same time, dropping gems, taught myself how to shine. Destiny, you gon' be mine. Told you in the previous episode, behold, I was golden.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, you're back with Broadsword Gaming Analysis, and I am Shaq B. Thanks so much for being patient, guys, and thanks for joining me. I'm back in the new, we're new in the Knack 2 groove, actually. This is my first official Knack 2 video that I'm actually releasing. And I thought it was very important to release this video talking about what I'm talking about, because it's something that's going to affect very heavily whether you enjoy this new game. And I do recommend, by the way, that you go ahead and check it out. Real quick before we get into it, if you're already somebody who's subscribed to me, please go ahead and give me a like, give me a share. I really need my stuff spread, so I really hope that you would engage in that and help me out. If you're not somebody that has subscribed to me yet, I hope you maybe be inclined to do so after this, after you go through and see my content here. So getting right into it, Knack 2 is a really fun platforming / adventure game. It has a very heavy combat focus though, and throughout the game a lot of this combat focus is both its best part and its shittiest part. And specifically, I'm going to tell you my story. I started playing the game on very hard from the outset. I said I was going to do that in my life update, my September 4th life update, and I did, and Jesus fucking Christ, it was one of the biggest mistakes. Like, oh my god, the game is fucking serious on very hard mode. I mean, enemies are sped up. You're going through certain portions of the game that on, say, easy mode you just don't go through. I've never played the game on normal mode. I've only played it on hard, very hard, and easy. But basically certain stages will switch around and change depending on or certain parts of the stage will open up and you'll have to do them, whereas on normal easy mode you wouldn't have to. But when it comes to enemies, they move like a lot faster. Their targeting is naturally just natively on fucking point, but I'll get into that later. So, anyway, what I'm telling you is don't play this game on very hard mode for your first playthrough. Play it on hard mode. I actually got a recommendation, or I got like some ups. I got some of them sweet kudos from the official Knack Twitter page when I said that when I first posted that I had finished very hard mode and that was the first time I played through the game. And the person who runs the Twitter was like, I said don't play it on very hard mode, and the person who runs the Twitter was like, alternative lesson, be a badass and do what this guy did. And I'm like thanks, you know, saying that wet my whistle, that you know, that made me you're tickling my balls a little bit, but at the same time, please fucking God, do not do that because you will be pissed, man. I mean, it's really a dangerous situation, because in this game, when you start a new game, you go into it, and if you get to a point in the game where you're kind of stuck and can't move on, the only option you have is to go back into what's known as the world map, which is basically chapter select in this game, and grind out levels and level up your skills and abilities and find as many chests as you can so you can unlock as many gadgets as possible. There are several gadgets in the game that do very particular things. You'll have to just grind until you're strong enough to take on these certain situations. And then there are situations where if it's your first playthrough, you don't have access to the higher level abilities such as hook shot, the ultimate move, and heavy punch, and the boomerang that you're going to need for a lot of these really tough bouts. So that's why I don't recommend that you play it, but I'm just going to break down how the mechanics of the game work on very hard, so that if you tackle very hard or you're thinking about tackling very hard, this will help you out, okay? So, without further ado, let's just get right into it. Okay. So first, before I get into saying any of this stuff, because it's going to be a lot of stuff that can be taken as negative, I do love this game. I do recommend this game. It's $40. Go out and fucking buy it. It's just like the Ratchet and Clank remake that was made. It's a badass game, and there's no reason at all to pass this sort of thing up when it's 40 fucking bucks. It's ridiculous. It's disgusting. It's nasty. It's nasty. It's gross. So go out there and get this fucking game. There's no point for you not to get it, man. It's only $40. You want to have some fun. You want to have a good time for $40. You want to wet your fucking whistle for 40 fucking bucks. You got the right idea when you come and buy this game, okay? The difficulty, like I said before, the design of the levels is really cool because it changes based on difficulty and things like that. And the extra content includes time attack, coliseums, missions, unlockables, your tree skills. All that shit is really cool, okay? And then there's the co-op is really, I better let you know about co-op. Co-op is only on the couch local co-op, okay? You can't play multiplayer in this game co-op. But co-op is a big thing about it. Like, if you can get someone on the couch with you, it's really fun. But you can't do it over the, over, say, a system. And that's kind of upsetting. You can't do it online, but I understand because it would have taken a lot more money, and they probably didn't want to invest that money into it. So let's get into those mechanics. The reason why you don't want to start this game on very hard mode is because, let's start with the enemies for once. They're varied. They come in many different shapes, sizes, literally different shapes, sizes. They have different functions. Some of them are ranged like ancient weapons, or arrow goblins, or ancient goblins, or high goblins. There are various mechanics within that are very important. For instance, the high goblins have the ability to shoot arrows into the ground that explode. So they they shoot into the air and they rain down and explode. If you walk into them, or if you're near them for too long, they can shoot powered shots at you, and pretty much any enemy except for the very small tyke-like goblin species, the imps or trolls or whatever you would call them. Every other enemy who is ranged and has a bow has the ability to shoot this powered shot at you that can do immense damage and can break your block. So if another enemy is about to attack you, it will open you up for all kinds of damage. And the worst thing about ranged enemies, and you'll find this out about the androids that attack you, the copy knacks that attack you. If you don't know what a copy knack is, you'll know later on in the game. They have this tracking on them that is fucking intense. And on very hard mode, their tracking is booty hole tight. Like, really fucking tight tracking, okay? So if you think that you can dodge, and if you do it too soon, or if you do it too soon, you'll be fine. No, they will track the shit out of you, and I will explain why that dodge is so ass in this game, that it makes such an issue. But then you got the melee enemies, and the melee enemies will kick the shit out of you. They will combo the fuck out of you. Oftentimes, they go into this thing that I call enemy overdrive, where if Knack gets hit and he gets knocked into this scene where the outside of the screen starts to shock with purple lightning and it kind of grays out a little bit, this is showing you that you've received too much damage. You need to get out away from the enemies so that Knack can kind of build himself back up into the stronger form that he had before. The problem is in that weakened state, you're knocked down to a smaller version of yourself, which means it's harder to get away from enemies, and one more hit can kill you on very hard. It doesn't matter what that hit is. It could be the tip of someone's fucking pinky or the tip of their dick. It will kill you. I don't care if their dick is gelatinous at the time. It could be the floppiest elephant trunk that's ever flopped, okay? If it touches you, you're fucking donezo. And it's crazy how that shit is. They will absolutely rage into overdrive. If it is a ranged enemy, they will spam the shit out of these fucking attacks, and there's nothing you can do to retaliate. You can kind of parry, but one fuck up is all they need, and you're donezo. You are going to die so many fucking times because one enemy kind of tipped you a little bit, and that knocked you into that mode, and enemies either shot a bunch of fucking projectiles up your asshole. And by the way, remember, in this game, I'm telling you, the tracking is booty hole tight. What that means is if you're running in a certain direction, they shoot a projectile. They do all this algorithmic shit in the background of the game, and so they shoot at a projectile where you're going to go. And you think, okay, then I'll jump. No, you don't understand what I'm saying. Oh, fine, whatever, Shaq, but shut the hell up. I'll just dodge. No, you fucking nummy. You don't understand what I'm saying. They do algorithms in the background of the game. The AI does. And it shoots an extremely fucking fast projectile where you are going to go. Which means you're going to die. You're going to die a lot. And when we're talking about melee enemies, what they do is their particular overdrive is where they constantly just bam, 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 bam. They attack after attack after attack after attack after attack. I swear to God, they speed up. They speed up in running speed and they speed up in attacking speed, and it is insane. It only takes the very tip of their blade to kill you. It's bullshit, and you will die to it over and over and over again. And to make matters worse, the enemy overdrive in particular, if there's 5 enemies on the screen, imagine them all bum rushing the shit out of a... Okay, imagine a 5-year-old has to fight against a bunch of 30-year-old bodybuilders, and these bodybuilders have machetes that have explosive grenades attached to the ends of the fucking machetes. That 5-year-old is fucking done! That 5-year-old's gone! It's over! Okay? Get the fucking little casket. Okay, I don't want to talk. That's too far. That's horrifying. But seriously, that's how this shit is. It's fucking horrific. You are going to get your ass handed to you on a smoking fucking platter. They will hear the goddamn sizzling of your ass fajitas as they eat you with a little bit of Chianti and some fucking fava beans. Okay? You're gonna get fucked. And there's nothing you can do. You have your pint-sized enemies that will do that to you. Even the little tiny pint-sized motherfuckers will spam you like that too, and they will beat your ass. Even if you're bigger than them sometimes. Because they are not afraid to chip that goddamn health away until you're donezo. And then you got the giant enemies like the ancient weapons. They're these spider tank looking things. These bastards spam missiles. They summon little minions. They have attacks that strip your shield. They have a particular attack where you have to evade it. You have to dodge it. You don't have any... You can't jump. You can't move. You have to evade at the right time. Now the good thing is with the hook shot you can cancel out their ability to use that attack, but I'll tell you why that's not necessarily perfect later on. You'll understand. Okay, so beyond the enemies, Knack himself is an issue. Okay, so Knack himself, I don't know what the hell went through these guys' minds when they decided to make Knack's movement the way it is. Okay, Knack's animations are fantastic, by the way. They're beautiful. That's not the problem. His animations are not the problem. His movement speed is the problem. This motherfucker is as slow as a slug who's been doped up, okay? And remember what I just told you, the enemies will rage when they get an opportunity. So that means you could be just holding the stick in one direction and they will run up your ass and devour you. And there is nothing you can do because Knack won't move fast enough. He cannot move fast enough to get out of the way of these attacks. Okay? Which is a real shame, but that's how it is. And so you're going to find yourself oftentimes trying to jump out of the way, but you do not have iframes for jumping. In fact, that's the next thing. Knack has like no fucking iframes. I think he has a tiny bit of them sometimes when he's dodging, and it depends on it's like a tiny millisecond of iframe. And the rest of it, he is vulnerable no matter what you are doing. If you're doing the ultimate move in the attack, which is the upgraded form of the multi-punch that ends in a kind of a Kokoshu, like if you've ever known, look up Chun-Li's Kokoshu ability or Kokoshu attack. You'll see that's kind of what Knack's ultimate move looks like. But no matter if you're doing that, if you're doing a spin kick when you are, say you dash and then you start doing the spin kick, if you're doing kicking, if you're doing punching, if you're doing the heavy punch, you are never fucking safe. You don't have iframes in this game. Just say that. You don't have iframes in this fucking game, okay? So not only are you slow as fuck, you got no iframes, even when dodging. Even when dodging. Not just at the end of the dodge, because yes, at the end of the dodge, you can get your ass worn out. But I'm talking about while you're dodging, you can get hit too, okay? Knack's hitboxes and the enemy hitboxes are very tight. So this means that it's a good thing that like an enemy can't hit beside you and hit you. What oftentimes happens is they'll hit you beside you and then they have some area of effect explosion that'll hit you. 9 times out of 10, if they attack at you, they are going to hit you, okay? So that we can understand that at least the hitboxes are really tight and really well done. The problem is, these motherfuckers are on point, okay? And the reason I say that that's a detriment to Knack himself is because Knack, oftentimes, it goes into another thing that's his big problem. His auto-aim is fucking awful. It's awful. Oh my god. I have never seen this shit before. Like, the whole game is predicated upon him being able to aim at an enemy and hit those motherfuckers. And sometimes he just doesn't do it. Like, when you get, there are crystal knacks in the game, which is where you collect a certain amount of crystal relics, you get a crystal knack. And a crystal knack has special abilities. My favorite is shooter knack, and my second favorite is saber knack, and I'll explain them later. But there's one called vampire knack, and chill out, it's not as cool as you think. He has the ability to teleport behind the enemies. You're like, what? Like, that sounds fucking awesome, Shaq B. What the fuck are you talking to, you goddamn asshole? Well, let me explain, you goddamn asshole, why that's not so great, okay? When you teleport behind someone, the whole idea is that, oh, you can do so, you get the, you know, a leg up on them. So you can go into the ultimate move, you can heavy punch the shit out of them, and for a few times I did get it to work that way. The vast majority of the time, when there's more than one enemy on the screen and you use the teleportation, Knack will aim in the wrong fucking direction. Because his auto aim is fucking trash. It does not prioritize enemies over inanimate objects or open fucking air. I'm not kidding you. I'm not fucking kidding you. I have whiffed attacks because this idiot decides, oh no, I'm not gonna attack the dickhead who's about to punch me in the throat. I'm gonna throw my heavy punch at open air. And I've just got through explaining to you how vulnerable you are and how much enemies will get your fucking ass, okay? So he whiffs this hit and I'm instantly vulnerable. So I either have to hold the block button or I'm done. That's it. You know what I'm saying? That's all she wrote. It's crazy as fuck. It's crazy as fuck. And to go together with tight hitboxes, I have punched within a near fucking teensy weensy bit of a guy's face, of a guy's nose. I've tipped his nose, beep boop on the fucking nose in this shit. And I've gotten punished for it because it just didn't connect. Crazy shit, man. And he's got attrition points like crazy. His attrition points are like big ass hallways, okay? It's like, by the way, if you don't know what an attrition point is, I explained it in my Neo guides. That an attrition point is an opening for you to attack an opponent. So, but it's a quick opening. And in this case, Knack has hundreds of them. After a dodge, after a combo, after a swipe, after a jump, after a fucking movement, after a bowel movement, after sniffing, after eating, after breathing, after doing anything, there's an opening where an enemy can attack you, and they will on this mode. Remember, you're on very hard, okay? So they're not going to play games with you. The next thing, oh Jesus, oh God, it hurts my eyes, and it hurts my mouth to even speak it. It burns my throat as I mention this. Knack's shitty ass evasion technique. I don't know who the fuck's idea it was to give him this evasion, but I am not kidding you. You ever know that situation where you're walking along and you lift your leg up and it kind of hits something, say it hits the edge of a sidewalk, and you trip forward a little bit, but then you catch yourself and you keep walking? Well, Knack's evasion move is like that whole tripping incident, but you don't keep walking. You go down to one knee and you stay there for about 5 minutes, and you do that stupid ass Peter Griffin thing about before you haven't even hit your knee. You're just doing that, wasting fucking time, and then you get up and you walk like normal. That's what this evasion move is. It's utter horseshit. It is the worst fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. You know, have you ever played Dead Rising? And you get the dodge roll for Frank West, and then you use it once, and you never use that motherfucker again, because jumping is better than fucking dodge rolling, you know that? That's what this is like. It's horrendous. It's fucking horrendous. You know how Frank, he does the dodge roll in Dead Rising 1, and then he kind of jerks forward on one knee at the end of it, so it makes you super fucking vulnerable, so you learn to never use it again? Well, the problem is that Knack's evasion actually has a use. It has a meaning. It has a point. Because there are times in this game, like, remember I told you, your movement speed is so fucking slow that enemies will rain down attacks on you. So sometimes the only thing you can possibly do is to evade at the last second out of harm's way. And sometimes you're successful. The majority of the time, you're not. Okay? It's fucking horrific, man. His evasion is terrible. I'm not saying you have to have something like God of War's evasion where Kratos hops all the way across the fucking room, but you have to have a viable evasion technique, especially for a game that is so tough on you. That is the one thing you're going to come into this game and you're going to hate the hell out of. And even when you upgrade it to, like, you get the ability to kind of tackle enemies when you run into them, it still isn't worth anything. And you get the ability to what's called the super dodge. Ooh, the super dodge. I wish you could see me. I'm quotationing so fucking hard. I'm using all 4 fingers on both hands. The super dodge, my dick. All the super dodge allows you to do is dodge through enemies, which you would think he would be able to do natively since he's made up of a bunch of parts, right? But normally you can't do that. When you get the super dodge, it doesn't lengthen your dodge, it doesn't make your dodge faster or your recovery frames at the end of the dodge shorter. It just allows you to move around enemies literally by moving your parts around their body. And you're like, well, that must be great, right? It lets you get behind them. Nope. Because whenever you'll need to use that move, because normally you'll just, if it's a smaller enemy, you'll just beat his ass and kill him. If it's a larger enemy, you want to use that move, but larger enemies have hyper armor. So when you do it, you'll evade through him. He'll just turn around and initiate an attack, so you'll have to either evade back through him or block. It's fucking stupid. It's a waste. Alright. Anyway, so we're going to move on into Knack's terrible block. Okay, so the block is good as long as you don't have more than maybe 2 enemies on the screen. And that's because there are attacks in the game where that will go around the block that are grabs and projectile type grabs. But then there's the fact that the vast majority of enemies will have some ability, or the vast majority of encounters will have some enemy who has some ability to do so much damage to your block, they eventually break it. And it only takes 1 second for you to get hit and knocked into the vulnerable mode, where you're now doing the do-si-do, where enemies are fucking following you and enemy overdriving your ass into the ground. His block is extremely weak, man. Extremely weak. Now, the good thing is that you can level it up to where you have the ability to pull it up more often, and that it'll come back, you know, and stay at its strongest power. But it still is not that successful of a thing for you to use, because it can be broken so easily. Okay? Last thing but not least, because all of this is horrific, Knack has Tiny Knack. Now, you would think that they would set it up to where, okay, maybe Tiny Knack moves faster than the larger Knack, or he's harder to hit, or, you know, he has some kind of power that makes Tiny Knack a valuable choice for a combat situation if you are forced into him by getting hit too much, or there are certain, I really love this, there are certain portions of the game where you have to be Tiny Knack for a time, which I really love. I love that they did that, because it actually kind of adds in the stealth element sometimes. But no, there is no positive to being Tiny Knack. Not a single fucking one. No positive. So if you are Tiny Knack as an enemy, get this shit. You know that enemy overdrive thing I've said several times now? If you become Tiny Knack by pressing R1 during a combat sequence, enemies will rally and go into enemy overdrive mode, where they run at you and they attack very fucking quickly. So when I was playing the demo, I thought, okay, that's a way for me to trick them into a false sense of security, right? Nope. Nope. Serves you right for fucking thinking, you doofus. No, it turns out that they attack so fast, they attack faster than Knack. So you would get punished by going into Small Knack, and then Small Knack, he doesn't get an evasion bonus or anything. He's just like larger Knack, but he can't take as much damage, and he moves slower. Because he's smaller, he covers less ground when he moves. So there are no positive benefits to becoming Tiny Knack at all. You know, it's just something you have to do. Except for in certain situations, well, actually in a lot of situations, there's one positive benefit. It allows you to get into tiny little nooks and crannies and crevices. And it literally is the only way to unlock a lot of the, well, any of the hidden treasures in the game, or the relic chests in the game. That's it. That's the only positive about Tiny Knack. And he's cute. He's a cute little motherfucker. I like that. So yeah, he is a cutie. But other than that, if you're Tiny Knack, get ready to have your tiny ass handed to your tiny arms. So I already talked about how Knack's auto-aim is absolute fuck-ups. Okay, it's absolute fuck-ups. But there are times in this game where Knack's moves will, for some reason, and it's not really well explained, they will do less damage. This happens a lot, and most measurably in the boss battles in the game. There are, I believe, 4 major boss battles in the game, going from off of what I remember. Okay, and all of these sequences are really cool. Let me get that straight. These boss battle sequences are badass, especially the one at the end. I don't know where the fuck that came from, but it's really cool. It's my favorite one, definitely. But this is the weird thing. So say you hit somebody with a heavy punch, and if you combine that with the combo meter and get your combo up, you're doing chunks of damage. Okay, enormous chunks off these bosses' health. Occasionally you'll hit them, and you'll notice that your damage is extremely reduced. And the way you can see this is that a boss's health bar will be a long red bar across the either top or bottom of the screen. I think it's the bottom of the screen. And when you hit them, you'll see a yellow, the red bar will decrease rapidly, but then you'll see a yellow bar that shows you what amount of damage you did, and then that decreases. Kind of like, I mean, it's a basic, you know, Street Fighter hit bar. Well, sometimes you'll do it, you'll hit them with a heavy punch, and it'll do a big chunk, and then you'll see that they're stuck in an animation, so you're like, my chance! And you'll go in there, and boom, heavy punch right to that fucking chest again, right? When they're in the animation after getting hit. Well, you shouldn't have done that, Jimmy Bob, because that didn't do anything. You notice that the damage is knocked down considerably. Sometimes you could probably calculate like a 75% damage loss. And you're thinking, why? Why did that just happen? Guess what? I don't fucking know. I don't know why the game does that. And sometimes that can get you really fucked up. If you're struggling on a boss and you're like, okay, I'm gonna punch this motherfucker, and you get him, he goes into an animation where he kind of throws his hands back and he's been hit by your hit, and you realize that you're already ready to attack again, because when you level up the speed of the heavy punch, because you can level up the speed of the heavy punch and the damage of it, when you level it up all the way, you can do that shit really fast. So I'll do it, he'll reset, Knack will reset to his normal standing animation, then I'll do it again, and it'll do considerably less damage. It's crazy as fuck. I don't know why that happens. Secondly, enemies will dodge like fucking crazy. It's bananas. It's bananas. Okay? I'll heavy punch at a guy. He'll dodge to the right. And then since I sped up my heavy punch because I have all the moves unlocked, I'll heavy punch again. And this motherfucker will dodge again. It's like, what the fuck? Like, how did you do that? You know, and meanwhile, do keep in mind that there's tons of enemies either shooting things up my ass or coming to beat my ass. So while he's do-si-doing around my attacks, is wasting my time and putting me in a worse position. Fucked up bullshit. I'm gonna explain it for you later, but basically you want to use the boomerang on pretty much any enemy, because the boomerang is much harder to dodge. It can be dodged, but not because the enemy moves out of the way. I'll explain it later. Or the hook shot. You could use the hook shot, but the hook shot can be dodged just like the heavy punch. It's fucking annoying. Anyway, so this is another weird one that happens very occasionally. And by the way, these sorts of situations, I'm not going to show them on screen because it's way too fucking hard to have these situations work correctly, and I'm not going to put myself through. I know I've experienced it, and I know you're going to experience it if you play the game, but it's way too hard to try and get these experiences to work again, so I'm just not going to bother putting them on screen. But occasionally, you will attack at an enemy, and Knack's, even his heavy punch, for instance, your heavy punch distance is based upon how big of a Knack you are. All of your attack distances are like that. Well, here's the thing. Sometimes you swear to God, your heavy punch can go long enough to hit an enemy, and it just doesn't, because perhaps that enemy is in the process of doing a particular attack. So the situation that I had where I saw it plain as day, I was against this normal goblin, and the normal hobgoblin soldiers have the ability to, not the normal goblin soldiers, I'm talking about high goblins, the ones with the glowing swords. They jump forward, they slam down, do an area of effect attack. Well, there was a scene where this motherfucker was jumping at me and I was trying to hit him in the air with a heavy punch. He stopped short, as if blocked, and my punch stopped short, as if there was this thin line of invisible cheese between the two of us. And he came down with his attack and hit me with the AoE of the attack, and for some reason my heavy punch didn't go all the way and kill him before he hit me. How the fuck did that happen? Whatever. Anyway, so the next thing that's a shitty-ass anomaly that happens, that's more of a circumstance of enemy overdrive than anything, less than an anomaly, is that when enemies are in enemy overdrive, because they're all attacking you at one time, they can literally cover you in attacks and spam you to death. There is no retaliation for this. So if an enemy hits you, and then another one hits you, and then another one hits you, and then another one hits you, well, I'm not going to say there's no retaliation. There is a retaliation, a particular skill that you can do that I'll explain later. But you're going to get hit over and over again. Knack has, like I said, no iframes. He doesn't have any recovery animations, so when he's getting hit, like a recovery animation in this case, what I mean is, like, say he gets hit and he blinks for a little bit so you can get out of the way of another attack. No, you can get spammed to fucking death, and that's it. Yeah, and guess what? You will get spammed to death quite a bit. Welcome to very hard mode, bitch.